In Miami, a city known for sun and nightlife, another story is unfolding. People collapsing on sidewalks, families burying loved ones, and fentanyl flooding every corner. The numbers are rising faster here than almost anywhere else in America, but the real question is, how did paradise become a city of the walking dead, and can it ever come back to life? That means nearly 300 people every single day. The number is higher than car crashes, higher than gun violence, higher than any other drug in the country. The drug is so strong that just 2 milligrams, the size of a few grains of salt, can shut down breathing. Families across the nation are burying sons and daughters at a pace that feels endless, and Miami has become one of the clearest mirrors of this national disaster. Last year, overdose deaths in Miami-Dade County rose 38%, the sharpest climb in Florida. In the streets near downtown and Overtown, people slump against bus benches, half awake, their bodies rocking in slow motion. Locals call them the walking dead. They are not monsters. They are neighbors caught in a storm stronger than anything they can fight alone. Miami is different from other cities because of where it sits and what it is known for. The nightlife, the clubs, the endless stream of tourists, these things make the city shine, but they also make it easy for fentanyl to spread. Dealers mix it into cocaine, Xanax, or even MDMA, knowing the high will be stronger and the cost lower. Many young people do not even know they are taking fentanyl until it is too late. A 22-year-old man in Little Havana thought he had bought a pill to calm his anxiety. His mother found him hours later, silent on his bedroom floor. He was just trying to sleep, she says with tears in her eyes, and the pill killed him. In Wynwood, a man who once worked construction remembers waking up in the hospital after overdosing at a party. "I didn't even want fentanyl," he explains, "but it's in everything now. You can't escape it." These voices remind us that behind every number there is a human story, and each story is full of pain, loss, and warning. The problem did not appear out of nowhere. Miami is a port city open to sea and air traffic from across the world. Drugs flow in along with people and money. The city's culture of fast living and late nights makes it fertile ground for risky choices. National data shows fentanyl deaths climbing everywhere, but Miami is hit harder because of these root causes. The contrast is sharp. Glittering towers in Brickell filled with wealth rise just blocks from streets where men and women nod off in the midday heat. What makes the crisis even more urgent is the speed. In only 3 years, the rate of overdose deaths here has doubled, outpacing national growth. It is as if the city has been placed on fast forward, racing toward a future no one wants to see. And so the question forms in the mind of every viewer: why Miami? Why here? And why now? The answer begins to unfold when we step back and look at the web of connections holding this crisis together. Miami is a city of extremes. On one side, there are billion-dollar yachts floating in Biscayne Bay. On the other, there are tent camps under I-95 where men and women fight each day to survive. The drug moves freely across these worlds. In South Beach, tourists take cocaine at parties, unaware that the powder may be laced. In Liberty City, young men use it to escape unemployment and stress. In Little Haiti, immigrants face language barriers that make it hard to find help, while in Brickell, professionals hide their struggles behind polished doors. The environment shapes the choices. Constant heat, high rents, and the lure of fast cash push people toward coping in dangerous ways. Normalizing adds another thread to the web. In clubs, seeing someone high is not strange, it is part of the scene. In poorer neighborhoods, seeing someone slumped on a sidewalk is no longer shocking. When suffering becomes normal, the will to fight back weakens. A young hospitality worker in Brickell says quietly, "I've seen co-workers overdose in bathroom stalls. We don't talk about it. If we say something, we could lose our jobs." Stigma silences voices, and silence lets the problem grow. Economic pressure deepens the trap. Miami's cost of living is among the highest in Florida. Wages in service jobs do not keep up. People live paycheck to paycheck, and when despair hits, drugs become a quick escape. Services are scarce. Many treatment centers require insurance that workers do not have. Waiting lists stretch for months. A recovery counselor in Alapada explains, "I see people ready to get clean, but by the time a bed opens up, they've used again or died." Language makes it worse for Spanish-speaking and Haitian Creole-speaking families who cannot find programs in their tongue. What looks like personal failure is really a system closing its doors. The patterns repeat across the map of Miami. Tourists bring demand, ports bring supply, culture hides the problem in plain sight, and poverty ensures no easy way out. These threads cross and twist into a net that holds people tight. A young woman in Overtown tells her story. "I wanted help. I wanted someone to talk to, but I felt invisible. Her words echo the feelings of many across the city. Miami is not only facing a drug, it is facing a web woven from its own history, its own streets and its own silence. And the more we look at that web, the clearer it becomes that fentanyl is not just inside a pill or a powder. It is inside the life of the city itself, touching everyone whether they know it or not. Miami is a city that shines on the outside. Yet when you look closer, you see how every piece of its life is tied to the fentanyl crisis. The bright lights of South Beach mask the shadows that stretch across Overtown, Liberty City, and Little Haiti. On a Friday night, you can watch tourists dance in clubs, lines of cars moving slowly past neon signs, laughter spilling out of open doors. Just a few blocks inland, under the same warm sky, men and women huddle under an overpass, their bodies thin, their hands shaking. The same drug moves through both worlds, from glossy nightclubs to cracked sidewalks, connecting lives that seem far apart. This is the web that holds Miami in its grip, a web spun from culture, money, silence, and fear. The city's role as a gateway to the Americas makes it more open to smuggling than most places in the country. Cargo ships unload at the port, planes land from across the world, and hidden inside the flow of goods are packets of powder and pressed pills. From there, the drugs slip into every corner of Miami. In the tourist zones, powders are cut with fentanyl because dealers want to stretch supply and make quick profit. In poorer neighborhoods, pills show up as cheap escape, selling for less than a fast food meal. The movement feels unstoppable because it rides on the same roots that fuel Miami's wealth and image. The port that brings luxury goods also brings poison. The airport that welcomes millions of visitors each year also opens doors for the traffic that destroys lives. The environment of the city makes people even more vulnerable. The heat is constant, pressing down like a weight, and life is expensive. Rent has doubled in the past decade, with many families paying over half their paycheck just to keep a roof overhead. In Liberty City, broken-down houses stand next to gleaming new condos built for people who will never live the struggles of the street below. This gap pushes people toward coping any way they can. For some, it is long hours in service jobs. For others, it is numbing the pain with whatever they can find. When fentanyl is the cheapest and strongest option, the choice is quick, even if deadly. Inside the clubs of Wynwood and South Beach, the culture of drug use has become so common it no longer feels dangerous. People laugh, drink, and share powders and pills with the same ease as sharing a cigarette. They tell themselves it is safe, that overdoses happen somewhere else. But fentanyl has blurred the lines. A small pinch hidden in one bag or one pill is enough to turn a party into a funeral. Yet the scenes continue, weekend after weekend, while ambulances wait outside to pick up the pieces. In Overtown and Alapata, the sight of people bent over on sidewalks no longer draws surprise. Children step past bodies on their way to school. Shop owners sweep their doorways in the morning and hope no one overdosed there overnight. When suffering becomes normal, it is harder to fight. People stop asking for change, stop demanding answers, and start telling themselves this is just the way life is now. That silence is powerful. A young worker in Brickell said it plainly. If we talk about it, we lose our jobs. So we say nothing. Silence is another thread in the web. The barriers to help are everywhere. Clinics turn people away if they do not have the right insurance. Treatment centers have waiting lists so long that many never make it to the top. By the time a spot opens, another life is gone. For Spanish-speaking families in Little Havana or Haitian Creole-speaking families in Little Haiti, language itself becomes a wall. They cannot find counselors who speak their words, and they cannot navigate the maze of forms and offices in a language they do not know. A recovery counselor says, "I watch people ready to stop, but there is nowhere for them to go." These barriers are not accidents. They are part of the shape of the city. All of these pieces, ports, poverty, culture, silence, and stigma, twist together. They make a net that is hard to escape. A young woman in Overtown said, "I asked for help, but no one heard me. It felt like I was invisible." Her voice echoes across Miami, where too many people feel unseen and unheard. The crisis is not just about fentanyl. It is about the connections that make fentanyl so easy to find and so hard to fight. The city's wealth and beauty sit side by side with despair, and the space between them is shrinking. Every night the web grows tighter, pulling more lives inside, and with each life lost, the city loses a piece of itself, leaving the question hanging heavy: how much longer before the web pulls the whole community down? The story of fentanyl in Miami is not only about first use or even first overdose. It is about a cycle that keeps spinning, pulling people back into the same places again and again. A man collapses in the heat on Biscayne Boulevard, his lips turning blue. A stranger calls 911. Paramedics rush in. Narcan brings him back to life. For a moment he breathes again, his eyes open, and he is saved. But 2 weeks later, he is back on the same corner, chasing the same high, trapped in the same loop. This cycle is what makes fentanyl different from so many other problems. It does not end with one rescue. It repeats, each time faster, each time worse. Hospitals across Miami know this cycle well. In Jackson Memorial, doctors and nurses treat the same faces again and again. Some patients arrive 3, 4, even 5 times in 1 month. Each time they are revived, patched up, and released back to the streets with nowhere to go. There is no bed waiting for them. No long-term plan, only a ride back to the same neighborhood that feeds the addiction. A doctor there says quietly, "We keep saving people, but it feels like throwing buckets of water into a burning house." The effort is endless and the fire keeps growing. The justice system adds another spin to the wheel. Someone is caught with fentanyl or arrested while high. They are sent to jail for a few weeks or months. Behind bars, they go through withdrawal in a cell, shaking, sweating, aching, and when they are released, they are even more at risk. Their tolerance has dropped, so the same dose that once kept them steady now can kill them. Within days, many fall again, and the cycle continues. Probation rules make it worse. A single relapse can mean more jail time. Instead of help, people get punishment, and punishment feeds despair. Shelters and treatment programs often close their doors to those who are still using. They want people clean before they enter, but clean is the one thing users cannot be on their own. This wall leaves many with no place to go. They sleep under bridges or in alleys, still using, still exposed. Outreach workers in Alapata tell of people begging for help but being turned away. "They come to us crying," one worker says, "but unless they fit the rules, the system has no place for them." The rules keep the cycle locked tight. For families, the cycle feels like drowning. A mother in Little Havana says she has called ambulances for her son 7 times in 1 year. Each time she thinks it will be the last. Each time she hopes this will scare him into stopping. But he always comes back, thinner, weaker, and more lost. "It is like watching him disappear piece by piece," she says, her voice breaking. The heartbreak spreads because each person trapped in the cycle drags family, friends, and neighbors into its orbit. The city's image as a party capital adds another twist. Miami sells itself as a place of escape, a place where nothing is too wild, where the music never stops. This picture makes it harder to treat fentanyl as a crisis. To admit the truth would be to admit that the same culture that draws millions of tourists also feeds the overdose numbers. Officials focus on policing clubs, shutting down parties, or pushing people out of sight instead of facing the deeper needs. The cycle is not only in the lives of users, but also in the policies that try to control them. Quick fixes are tried, they fail, and the crisis grows larger, only to repeat again. The effects ripple outward. Children growing up in Liberty City see overdoses on their streets so often it no longer shocks them. Workers in South Beach watch co-workers collapse in bathrooms and quietly cover it up. Residents in Alapata step over bodies as if it is part of daily life. Each layer of the city adjusts, adapts, and in doing so accepts the cycle as normal, and what becomes normal becomes harder to break. This is the vicious power of fentanyl in Miami. It does not only kill, it repeats, it multiplies. It drags people back again and again until whole neighborhoods feel caught in its grip. The city keeps trying to treat the surface, but the deeper roots remain untouched. And until those roots are faced, the cycle will keep spinning, faster and faster, pulling more lives into its circle, leaving the question hanging heavy: how long can a city keep breathing when its own heart is caught in a loop of despair? As heavy as the crisis feels, Miami is not without light. In the same streets where despair runs deep, small sparks of hope begin to glow. On a warm morning in Little Haiti, a white van parks quietly at the corner. Volunteers step out carrying boxes of Narcan, clean needles and bottles of water. They move with calm voices and steady hands, greeting each person by name. To those living on the edge, this van is more than a vehicle. It is a lifeline. One woman who has been using for years says softly, "They didn't turn me away. They gave me what I needed to stay alive today." It may not sound like much, but for her it is a step, a reason to breathe, a chance to try again tomorrow. Across the city, new programs are starting to rise. In Alapata, a bilingual recovery group meets 3 nights a week. The room is small, the chairs mismatched, but the air carries the sound of voices telling the truth in Spanish, English, and Creole. Here people share their pain without fear of being judged. A young man speaks of losing his brother, and another nods because he knows that same loss. A woman explains how she almost gave up, but this group gave her strength to keep going. In their faces you see something the city needs more of: connection. Connection is what breaks silence, and silence is what has allowed fentanyl to grow. The county has also begun funding more treatment beds. At Jackson Memorial, a new wing now holds space for long-term care. Instead of sending people back to the street after a quick fix, this program keeps them for months, giving them time to heal. Doctors and counselors work together, not just to stop the drug but to rebuild the person. A nurse says for the first time we can give them more than a day or a week. We can give them a real chance. It is slow work, and the waiting list is still long, but each bed filled is one life pulled out of the cycle. Other cities have shown that such work can succeed. In Vancouver, safe use sites have cut deaths. In Boston, housing linked with treatment has given thousands a second chance. These models offer blueprints, and Miami is beginning to study them. But every city is different, and Miami's challenges are its own. The mix of languages, the wide gap between rich and poor, and the party culture that drives the local economy make this place unique. Any lasting solution must match these realities. A one-size plan will not hold. The answer must be made for Miami, shaped by its people, built to reach across its divides. Personal stories show what is possible. In Wynwood, a woman who once lived on the street now stands in front of a small recovery home she helps to run. Her eyes are clear, her voice steady. "If I can come back, anyone can," she says. Her story is proof that cycles can be broken, that loss does not have to be the last word. Each recovery plants a seed, and those seeds can grow into change across the whole city. The future depends on whether these seeds are watered with care. Will the city invest in more programs that treat people as humans and not as numbers? Will it make space for every language, every culture, every neighborhood? Will it connect health, housing, and hope into one system strong enough to hold those now falling? These are the questions Miami must face, and they are questions for all of us, not just leaders. Because fentanyl does not respect borders, and the lessons learned here will matter everywhere. The camera lifts to show the sun rising over Biscayne Bay, golden light breaking across the water. The city glows in the early morning, and in that glow is a message. The crisis is deep, but it is not final. Miami is more than its darkest nights. It can choose to face the truth, to build answers shaped by compassion, to turn the story from death to life. And so the call comes to the viewer. Add your voice, share your thoughts, join the push for policies that see the whole picture. This fight is not about one person or one street. It is about a city finding its way back from the edge, showing that even in a place called the City of the Walking Dead, there is still a path to walk toward life.